Alright, what's up? What's good, y'all? This is Marshall, Aware Mabry the Fourth, and you are listening to MWMIV Speaks. Alright, check it out, family. So today I wanted to come to y'all and talk about a topic that is basically it's really heavy on me, and I guess it always will be since this is such an aesthetic based industry, and that is the topic of colorblind slash color conscious casting and diversity in theater. Yes, that was mad dramatic, but it was necessary. So before we jump in, I want to highlight some terms that I will be using. Those terms are racism, oppression, discrimination, and prejudice. The definition of racism is prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism directed against someone of a different race based on the belief that one's own race is superior, or the belief that all members of each race possess characteristics or abilities specific to that race, especially so as to distinguish it as inferior or superior to another race or races. These are things like stereotypes. And with oppression, it is the prolonged, cruel, or unjust treatment or control of an entity, I guess you could say, or the state of being subject to unjust treatment and control, mental pressure, or distress. Then we have discrimination, the unjust or prejudicial treatment of a different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex, as in sex, basically. And prejudice, preconceived opinion that is not based on reason or actual experience. And I think that all of these things play into the entertainment industry, as it is an aesthetic driven industry. From it seemed like from the late 90s, about it's just where it started, from about 95 on, there was an explosion of people of color on stage that completely revolutionized theater, from Miss Saigon to Ragtime, to The Lion King, to shows like, today we have In the Heights, we have Hamilton, we have our Bring It On, we have our Aladdin, we have all these shows that encapsulate the experience of being a person of color, a person that is not white, a person that is not the majority. We have stories of from Gloria Estefan to Whitney Houston. Everybody's got a musical. Everybody is covered. So what do you do at this point when community theaters would like to do a show, but they do not have the people to do a show? That is the first part I want to jump into. So I was looking back at the shows that I have done, and I've noticed that where I was, either I shouldn't have been cast in this show if we were being historically accurate, or other cast members should not have been cast in the show. Now, I want to know, because I want to start this as a conversation, and that's why I highlighted these definitions. I want to know how you all feel, so feel free to tweet me back, Instagram me back, hit me back on Tumblr, all the things, because I want to know how my audience feels about this, especially since my basic audience is going to be young people of color, because so often, quote unquote, adults or older people tell us that we don't know what we're talking about, but actually the people of the movement are going to be the younger ones. So if you don't help us think this through, nothing will get done. Okay? So I wanted to start off by saying that this is not against anyone that I know. And this is not to deter anyone from doing anything, but I want to get into this. So a lot of the time you see a lot of, I guess you could say, prejudice against African American people, and especially in colorism. Even if you are casting African American people, they are lighter skinned usually, and not of the darker skin, because of preconceived notions that people in your audience or people in your creative team might have. So how do we, as people of color mostly, feel about, an all-white cast of The Lion King, or an all-white cast of Once on This Island? How do we feel about a white director in Once on This Island? How do we feel about a white person directing the Scottsboro Boys? How do we feel about the difference in our storytelling, because what I think ultimately there needs to be an element of inclusion, and I think what is going to happen is the whole concept of almost like historical accuracy will go out of the window. But even when we talk about historical accuracy going out of the window, there's still that group of people that it's like, well, if you're white, you can't really intrude on this. It's almost like the people that were marginalized for so long are now going, oh, well, we have power now, so you can't do this thing with us, you know? Almost like kids on the playground, which is, I think it's really problematic, especially seeing in the way this country is going, that we are dividing ourselves without the help of anyone else. It's almost like a setup. It's like a game, basically. And we've been taught since we were kids, oh, you stick with who you know, and you do da 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 da, instead of inclusion, which is something that we should be teaching. So I have been a part of a cast of Once on This Island Junior, but Once on This Island nevertheless. And Once on This Island is a show set in Haiti, and it's the jewel of the Antilles, and the only black or brown bodies on the stage were mine, T Moon, and another ensemble cast member. But I don't think that took away from my storytelling in any shape or form. I just recently did The Lion King Junior, and I played Mufasa, and there was only two people of color, but I still don't think it took away from our performances. But I don't know what I'm trying to really say, but how do we go about making sure that art is a continued safe space for all people? How do we make sure that everyone feels safe in art? And what lines are we drawing? Because I played Kevin Rosario in the Heights. Should I not have been cast just as much as my white cast members should not have been cast? And if that is the way things are, who's going to write these shows, Because I feel like they were like, well, no, Benny can't be Asian, or, Usnavi can't be black, or da-da-da-da-da, How do we go about fixing the issues? And I think more so this is an issue that is taking place in community theaters or even Broadway revivals now with older shows. Because the thing is, with Hamilton, it doesn't matter. If Hamilton has proven anything, they have shown to you that it does not matter what color you are, what size you are, how old you are. None of that matters as long as you can perform the role 8 times a week, stay in that world, and do justice to the role, From Asian Burr to Black Hamilton to Latin Angelica, they've done it all. They to Southeastern Asian Elizas, Hamilton is showing where theater is going, where it doesn't matter what you look like, as long as you can tell the story accurately, and you can do it right 8 times a week without hurting yourself, That is where I think we're going. But what do you do when you get a cast of Fiddler on the Roof? Is the production team prejudiced, or, are they discriminating against a certain ethnic group because they want it to be historically accurate? Is that how most people feel? Or if you see an all-Latin cast of In the Heights, which is almost how it was supposed to be written, how do you go about, doing these things? What comes with the controversy of, there was a production in Australia that got shut down. Their In the Heights production got shut completely down because it was an all-white cast of In the Heights, which doesn't make any sense when you have Latin music, but can those people still connect to the material? Because the truth is, In the Heights is a show written about home. Everybody can relate to the concept of home, but how do we go about living our truths in that? I think The Lion King is a universal story, and I think that my cast, I think they still got it, but what happens when you don't have those roots? And that is the thing I really want to talk about with more performers. I know there will be some performers that will listen to this. Please, if you've been in a show that there was a lot of colorblind casting going in, and you wouldn't have been traditionally cast on the show, please let me know. I know there are some people that I already wanted to talk to about this, and I want to keep this conversation going because I think this is a very important conversation for people like me growing up, teenagers and young adults in the entertainment industry, specifically theater, trying to know how to navigate their way through this circus that we want to have as an occupation. How do we live in a world where there's a difference between colorblind casting and color conscious casting? Because what is the reaction going to be when we see Joshua Henry playing Billy Bigelow in Carousel with Jesse Mueller, but color conscious? It's colorblind casting in the way that Joshua Henry got cast, but is it color conscious because there's a stereotype that black men do beat women? What happens when you see that stereotype played out on stage? Is that going to play into people's already discriminatory thoughts or prejudiced thoughts? Is the system of oppression, is there a way to break it, since the whole system is basically built against the holding down or the restraint of entire communities of black and brown people or people of color? And I think this is a very interesting conversation. So always, you can tweet me. Please do tweet me. If you're listening to this on SoundCloud, you can tweet me at MWMIV Music. Go find my Instagram at MWMIV Speaks. Go to my my Tumblr at MWMIV Speaks. I really want to open this conversation, and it's imperative that we have this conversation. You can find me on my website at marshallwmabryIV.com. You can go to MWMIVspeaks.com, and it will redirect you there, and you can go hit blog, and then you'll find all of my stuff. So yeah, keep this conversation going. Do not be afraid to tweet me. I would love to hear all of your opinions. All my friends, if you have my Snapchat, Marshall Mabry IV, feel free to Snapchat me, do all the things. I think this is a conversation for people of color to be having, and also for white performers to be having, because I also feel like there's an interesting narrative going on there, and I would love to get the chance to have some of you all on the show to talk about how you all feel in this changing climate where it seems like you're being pushed out instead of embraced. And it's an interesting turning of the tables, I guess you could say, going on in entertainment and arts right now. So, do all the things. Contact me. Let me know how you feel about this. Like, share, subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And yes, this has been MWMIV Speaks. And thank you for listening. Peace.